We are diehards, Tottenham diehards, Tottenham diehards, 'cause we're Tottenham. Till I die, yes, we're Tottenham till I die, till I die, till I die.
Good evening. Welcome to the Sunday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID Tottenham Till I Die. Adrian and I on Friday were discussing, well, do we do a show? Have we got enough to discuss? Yeah, maybe we have. We've got some transfer stuff and what have you. And then today the news breaks, allegedly, that Angie's on his way out. So we do have a lot to discuss. First of all, I'll welcome our guest, our regular, Tom Clark. Good evening, Tom. How are you, sir?
I'm all good, thank you. Recovering from some flu, but I'm all great.
You as well. There's a few with it. And our Lord and Master, my co-host, co-founder, Adrian Stoker. Good evening, Adrian. How are you?
Yeah, I'm still smiling. I've got that warm glow inside, and the afterglow is going to carry me all through next season. We are bulletproof and banter now. We are bulletproof.
Okay, how much did she charge you?
Sorry,
Sorry, it was the European Cup win. I'm sorry, Adrian. I shouldn't have revealed that. That's really
true.
nasty.
Mm.
Joking apart, this is the first time we've offered memberships, and we've got a few. I think Peter will be on, but Peter has joined us, so thanks, Peter. There we go. We've got where's Nita? Nita's tried to bag a membership as well, so thank you, Nita. And we've got a special one here.
We've got Blaine.
Spurs TV has gifted 10 TTID memberships. Blaine, I can't thank you enough, my man. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Blaine.
That's and there's your raison d'etre. I think that means reason. However, I love to see the channel grow. So here's my way of saying thanks for having me. Adrian,
missed out Tom.
Ian,
Blaine, he's an admin. Tom's an
admin. Our pleasure, my friend.
Hot time.
So get into the there's already 29 of you in. Graham, good evening to you, and Nita saying thanks for a super sub. So, and Chris, good evening to you as well, sir. So let's get to that news that's broken today. Oops, let's go back. And Tom, let's get your reaction. The news from a number of sources is that the decision has been made and Angie's going. What do you say to that?
I believe it when I see it.
Mm.
Like, it's one of those things where there seems to be lots of people that are calling it just so they can say, see, told you, I said it was happening. I'll believe it when I see it. Apparently, Daniel Levy's on holiday and doesn't get back till tomorrow anyway. So nothing, if anything's going to be announced, it's not going to be announced until tomorrow.
I think it's Monday week, Tom. Levy wouldn't go on holiday for a week. I think it's Monday week. Well, unless
I think Alistair Gold. Alistair Gold, Ali Gold said he's back tomorrow. Apparently, so
I'll go with that then. I'll go with that.
But either way, we just need to know. You got all these teams around us that are buying £100 million players, Florian Wirtz and Jeremy Frimpong and City going in for Shirky and all and we still don't even know who our manager is, which is ridiculous when he's just won a European trophy, our first trophy in 17 years, our first European trophy in my lifetime. And there's question marks, a while ago about what he's doing and stuff. I know, Romano Fabrizio seemed to say that there'll be news in the next few hours or something. So maybe whilst we're live, we might actually get the exclusive. Who knows?
That would tell me that if he's going in the next few hours, the new manager is already in situ. He's nearly in situ, because then otherwise you'd be hunting. Oh, when we get the manager in, the fans going in a normal meltdown. Oh, you sacked him. We haven't got no one in. Blah blah blah. That would tell me we've already got an agreement in place. If he is sacked, but I'm like you, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it, because I don't think Levy would do it while he was on holiday, and Angie's still on holiday, right? So he'd be gone for 2 weeks. So he wouldn't be back to the 9th, at least Monday week. So you're going to sack him while he's on holiday? You've also got the other group of fans that want an instant decision. They want it now because they've got their own agendas. Some have got multiple agendas. So you've got that as well. So if it's, I don't see him. I could be wrong. I don't see him being sacked tomorrow. I can see it next Monday, perhaps.
Adrian, if we can sack a manager at half time in a UEFA Cup tie or wherever it is, surely we can sack one on holiday. True,
Ian. That is true as well.
Let me take it from you. Is your expectation now, Adrian, at 12 minutes past 9 on Sunday night, British summertime, that Ange Postecoglou will be the manager when we take on PSG in the European Super Cup final on the 13th of August?
Yeah, at the moment, I would say he will be.
Tom? I'll tell you who I don't want my manager facing. I'll tell you who I don't want to be my manager facing in a final. That's Inzaghi.
That's why he's on the list, because he was either going to Saudi Arabia for 40 million or he's getting out of Inter Milan after that massive defeat,
But I think we just need a communication either way. Like, don't get me wrong, I would like Ange to stay. I believe in meritocracy. I think he has earned the right to play in the tournament that he qualified for by winning the Europa League. So I think he deserves the opportunity to try and see that out. However, there is parts of me that goes, is Ange for them or is he for the short term? Like, if he's manager next season, I don't see him being the manager the season after, irrespective of what happens. To me, Ange seems to only do 3 seasons at any club he's ever been at. So the opportunity has arisen now to get the manager that they foresee being the long-term manager, now that Ange has done the hard work with the rebuild. Then I could understand it, but I just don't know who that manager is.
I get with the losses this season that even I thought before the final, even if we won it, he was going to be sacked. It's only when I give it some serious thought afterwards, the impact, the money, how it's affected the players, boosted their morale, winning mentality at the club, blah, blah, blah. That's had me changing and think he'll stay. And I'm also anti all this, Angie's rubbish, clueless stuff, because the facts out there for people that say that don't back you up. If he goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. We only speculate. We don't get a say in the matter. But he started last season with arguably losing the world's best striker. We go 10 games undefeated. We get 8 wins, 2 draws, 26 points, still a record. Then VDV got injured. Then Maddison's ankle when he got injured. Then Matty Cash did Bentancur. Then Basuma had 3 suspensions last year, which was disgusting. Romero had 1. And we finished 5th. And without key players, because the squad, it still needed upgrades then, even though a lot of players went. It needed upgrades. Now, we lose them key players, we still finish 5th. Another win or so, we'd have finished 4th. We lost 12 games last year without key players in a lot of those games because they're out injured for long periods of time. And he still got us 5th. So he's not clueless, you know. And I don't agree with like, the suicide football 2 parked on the halfway line. And the only time we've got really beaten this year was Liverpool 6-3. When we were parked up there. We haven't been able to press in most of these games because the players would be knackered because they're overplayed because of the injury situation. And I still say you doggy doesn't invert, but Porro does. And that's for being parked on the halfway line. We haven't been parked on the halfway line for periods of play for ages. We tend to be mid-block, right?
Mm.
And then you've got, and then when you've got players coming back for injury, they need a bit of time to get into their stride. It's not like back in the day and when the game was a lot slower. I mean,
No, sure.
You've got to get the speed of thought and make the right, correct decisions on the field. So I think this season has been a perfect storm for about everything that could go possibly wrong. So he gets my sympathy there. Results haven't been good enough. You can't defend the results. I won't defend the indefensible. But I think a lot of this, if you really don't think Ange is the man, that's fair enough. I'm with you on that. I understand that, right? That's fine. But don't bash him with sticks that you shouldn't be bashed with. That's what I'm saying. So back to you, Tim.
Okay, let me go to the chat, Tom, before I.
Yeah, there's lots going on in the chat.
No show is complete without Peter Kagayas' time check.
Thanks for the membership, mate.
I've got to say, Peter, there's a war on, as if anybody cares what the time is in Melbourne right now. Come on, give me a break here. There's Milton Nabriga. Smash the likes, peeps. Yes, please do hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, do hit the subscribe button. Gives the channel a big lift. A couple of people saying hi to each other. Graham, Milton, Nita. Graham saying not seen anything on Sky. I think there was something on Sky earlier, but it seems to be on Twitter that's doing the rounds with this story. Is Peter. I think I've said thanks for that. I think if I haven't, then absolutely thank you very much. Blaine is reporting, I'm not sure where that's quoted from, but Spurs chairman Daniel Levy is set to decide Ange Postecoglou's future in the next days. Situation open. Thomas Frank, Marcus Silva are both appreciated, discussed internally as options for Spurs if presumably if they change manager. Soren, I think, is with me. I'm very much an Ange inner for reasons I'll maybe explain later, but I obviously want to hear what people say. If there is an Ange outer online and is willing to come on and argue why Ange should go, and perhaps as importantly, who should succeed him, we'd love to hear from you because I'd like to get a good Ange outer on. I actually did Spurs Talk Show this afternoon as someone who wanted to defend Ange. So I'd like someone from the opposite side to come on. So if there's anybody out there, that would be useful. Blaine saying Ange gets fired, no final decision made yet, which, yeah, I think that might be right. I don't think this can be good if the man's on holiday reading stuff online or in newspapers, getting texts and WhatsApps from family saying, they're saying you're out, Cobber. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think there's any way to run a business. Tom, your dad's saying, evening Kev, by the way. Yes, I've said make a statement one way or the other. I think we're getting to that point, Kev. I must be honest. It's amateur hour the way we do our business sometime. Graham saying hi to Soren.
Oops, sorry. Let's remove that. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a question. Nita raises a really interesting question, and I think this is one of my points about leaving. Managers come, go. In all honesty, what are our long-term plans if football matters on the pitch? I think this is the main problem with leaving. Never any coherent strategy with this club, and that's what really gets me mixed up. Sorry, mixed up there. I'm reading something there. Don't think it's me. Someone's getting. There you go.
Yeah, I think.
I wish I know. I know I've been told how to pronounce this before, but there must be. It must. I don't know. Is that Welsh? It's not Welsh, is it?
It is. It goes back to
It's
the
not. Is
name
it Welsh?
It goes way back to
Don't know.
King Edward. It
It's
goes
not-
way back
yeah.
to them. Yeah. Yeah, Ethelstone.
Okay.
Um,
Hey, if it's
But
well,
back on the previous point.
I could call him my flinty eye Cumbriac Newith, and he'll understand what I mean. You didn't realise I spoke Welsh, did you? It's totally irresponsible for those third-rate hack journalists spreading rumours about Ange. If he stays, I hope these idiots are accountable. Unfortunately, they never are. But
I think some are pushing the agenda, and part of it's wishful thinking as well. With some of them, I really do.
Hi Ian and Co. Sorry, yeah. There you go. Peter saying you're welcome. I don't know whether that's chat.
Ian,
Dave Peters.
Back on the point of like Ian, I was just say back on the point of like the the coherent strategy of like on the pitch and stuff. That's the most important thing, right? So, and I'm feeling the same with Ange in or Ange out. If they, this is what I said earlier. If they're not, if Ange isn't part of the long term future, and if Ange was more brought in because he is a manager that has gone into places and almost started the revolution at places. He's gone in, he's rebuilt teams. Even when he went Celtic, when he went to various other places, he was known for going in, shipping out a load of players, getting new ones in, and then starting the wheels in motion for the next guy to come in, right? If that's what he's done, and if that's what they wanted him for, then, and now they've got the opportunity to get in the guy that they see as being the guy who could be our manager for the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it might be, then absolutely like make that decision. But the thing that strikes me is that it's not like we're all sitting here going, yeah, we need to get that manager. That's the manager we want. Let's get that manager. Like there's absolutely no one who can agree on who they think the next manager could and should possibly be. Like don't get me wrong, when Poch became our manager, he wasn't the manager that Levy initially went for. He went for Louis van Gaal. Van Gaal decided to go United, and then he turned to Pochettino. But when Poch came in, I think we were all universally like, actually, I think that's a really good step in the right direction. But there isn't a manager at this present moment in time who stands out as like that's the guy we want, which is why I find it difficult.
That'd be the next complaint, wouldn't it? That would be the next complaint. Like, why have we brought him in? If Ange goes, it'll be like, why have we brought him in? That'll be the next thing.
I mean, irrespective of anything, like we could bring Pep Guardiola in and along with all the money and everything like that, and you'd still get people that moan and complain. Like people have been moaning and complaining that top 4 isn't a trophy. We won a trophy, and then this year we've won a trophy and not got top 4, and people are moaning that we haven't got top 4. So you're never going to win in some respects with things. I think my just overwhelming feeling is that I feel that Ange has earned the right with the win of the trophy, and like it's not just winning a trophy, right? By winning that trophy, we've qualified for the Champions League, like. So we have done what the target was to qualify for Champions League this season. We've done that, and we've won a trophy. Like, so he has ticked off all of the objectives that he would have been set. So I don't see how. Like my thing with Ange is I think Ange is a manager, not a coach. He is a guy who can manage a group of coaches and manage players and get the best elite mentality out of all of those players. But he's not a tactician or a coach. He needs the backroom guys to almost do that for him. But that's traditionally how it was always done. That was how Alex Ferguson done it. Alex Ferguson changed his coaching staff all the time, and he was the manager for a long time, but he freshened up his number 2 and his coaching staff routinely. Like, and actually Ryan Mason is about to sign his contract as West Brom manager and is allegedly taking some of the Spurs coaches with him, which means that Ange Postecoglou can actually freshen up the coaching staff.
Tom, sorry,
so allegedly, when Ryan Mason signs his contract with West Brom, he's going to take some of some of the Spurs coaches. I'm not sure which
Some.
ones exactly, but he's going to be taking some of
Okay.
them. So,
Okay, I just couldn't hear who he was going to
that
take.
means we're going to
Well,
need
that
to
will
freshen
leave
up the
Ange short
coaches
again.
anyway. So, yeah, exactly. So we're going to need to freshen up those coaches anyway. So are they saying that actually it'll be easier just to, you know, get rid of Ange and all of that anyway, and then freshen up with bringing in the new guy with all of his new coaching staff in?
Yeah.
I think it's like the thing that I look at is Spurs' sudden downturn in like performance came at the exact moment that Chris Davis got the Birmingham City manager job. So he was Ange's number 2. He was the sort of the brains. He was the Pep Linders to Jurgen Klopp. Like, you know, he was the brains behind a thing, but Ange is the man motivator, the philosopher, as some people label him, as if that's a bad thing. And the guy that produces like the elite mentality. He lost that brains, and he's had to work with them what we've kind of had. I think either way, he's going to need like some backroom staff coming in, or I just, again, for me, I just feel like we need communication from the club sooner rather than later of what is the plan going forward. And the thing is, I can understand us. I can actually understand us maybe wanting to change Ange now when we're in a position of strength, rather than waiting for when we're in a position of weakness and starting a rebuild again. Like, the rebuild is basically done. We just need those elite players that we can now afford to go and buy to take us to that next level. Do you also back that up with maybe improving the coach rather than the manager? Who that is, I don't know.
Let me bring Adrian in on a point, and then I'll go back to the chat, because there's a lot of stuff on the chat which is not surprising but also really good. Adrian, let me raise one point that Tom made that to me is fundamental to this argument. You agree with any employee in any walk of life what their job objectives are for the next 6 months or the next 12 months, or in a football manager's case, for the next season. I'm presuming a target rather than necessarily an objective, but a target would be to win a trophy and qualify for the Champions League. That would have been at the very top end of Levy's ambitions from his coach. And there was presumably nothing in that says how you've got to do it. He wins a trophy, he wins a big trophy, and for me that was there, and anyone else watching that was there, it was one of those magnificent nights. If it's by the back door, it doesn't matter. He's qualified for the Champions League, for all the profile and money that brings in. And then you're saying, it doesn't matter, Cobber, you're out. It's a ridiculous way to run a business, isn't it?
Yeah. If you can't reward success, where are you going? Where are you going? You know, and you've got to look at the deep impact, which I hadn't considered at the time. But when I get time to think things through, you're looking at the fact that we're going to go about 90 million, even for the 8 games. Then you've got the 40 million from reaching the Super Cup, 130 million. We would have had some money in the transfer kit. How much? Probably only about 60. But we'd had something like that, right? Because Levy talked about, we're going to have to cut our cloth accordingly come the transfer window. And then we're looking at player sales. So no one can say there isn't money there to get some decent transfers in there now, right? So you've got that. Then look at the impact. You've got young kids like Ajayi, Scarlett, Mikey Moore, 17, has got a Europa Cup winners medal at 17 years of age. Some players never get a medal in their whole career. Some never win nothing. Think what it does for their confidence, their mentality. We've killed the Spursy tag. We've created a winning mentality. These players will believe going into the new season now. They will believe the boost, how it will boost morale and everything throughout the club. It's like you can't really underestimate the impact of what winning this trophy has done on so many levels and so many variables with it that, like, for it doesn't mean it won't paper over the cracks of our league form. No way. Right. But we know we're not going to have a season like that next year. It's just not going to happen. Right. No matter who's in charge, it's not going to happen. Right. But we need to upgrade the squad. right? We do definitely need to upgrade the squad, you know. So yeah.
Can I post something else to you guys as well, right? The Premier League is a competition. The FA Cup is a competition. The Champions League is a competition. The Carabao Cup is a competition. Why is the Premier League seemingly all of a sudden having such a precedent over all of the other competitions? Like, end of the day, only one team wins the Premier League. All the other teams lose, but they qualify for other competitions.
Well,
You
to
qualify
me,
for those competitions to do what? To want to win them. So what? Like, why is it all of a sudden that our league form, us coming 17th, where we've won by coming 17th, we've won the exact amount, you know, not in terms financially, but we've won the exact amount of silverware. Well, actually, one more. It's maximum amount of silverware based on Premier League as what all the other 15 teams that finished above us, apart from the one that won it.
and there was a bit of debate going today. I was on Sean Butler's show yesterday and talking about it. I mean, I think it was on his show. I appear on so many, I forget. But you talk the Premier League, it's 38 games. So to me, it's the hardest competition to win in Europe, as far as I'm concerned. Then you've got the Champions League, which is 15 games. Then you've got the Europa League, which is 15 games. You've got the FA Cup, 6 games to win it, 7 games to win the League Cup because you've got a 2-legged semi-final. And then get people saying on some shows, fair enough, I get the point. Oh, the FA Cup's a better trophy to win. It has more kudos than the Europa Cup. And I'm going, hang on, you got 15 games in the Europa Cup. Not just that, you've got to play them games within a Premier League program. You've got to pick teams to play games. I said it's a hard competition. After we've beaten Frankfurt, you know, Bodo Glint away, you know, and things like suddenly like, oh, our rivals devalue the competition. Well, I know for a fact that if someone wins the Spanish Cup or the German Cup over here, we don't take no notice of it at all, right? Because they're domestic cup competitions. You win the Europa League, you're noticed. You're noticed abroad because you've won that European competition, which has been relayed to all around the planet. So you're noticed. And to me, the Europa League is bigger than the FA Cup and the League Cup. If people think differently, fine. I ain't got a problem with that. It's just my opinion. You know, I mean,
Financially, it is.
Yeah, financially, more money. And I'm just thinking, you've got to pick your teams, and then you're playing one game on a Thursday, and the following week you're away. Doesn't happen in the League Cup or the FA Cup. You win a round, you might not play again for a month or a few weeks, right? But you're playing constantly and like that until you get your break at winter time. You get that break before the Euros kick in again from the teams that have qualified for the next rounds. So, like the FA Cup, you're not playing one game on a Saturday and then playing next because you've got to have to draw and you've got to go through all that rigmarole. So there's lots can happen between rounds of the League Cup and the FA Cup when you can actually be better prepared. You don't get that time in the Europa League to prepare. You don't. You're playing virtually every Thursday. You know.
I just find it baffling that for so many years, everyone's been going on about how, oh, we want to win trophy, we want to win a trophy, we want to win trophies, we want to win trophies. And then all of a sudden this season, it's like, oh, I can't believe we've been so crap in the league, even though we've won a trophy. And I find it like with Tottenham Hotspur, we're probably in my lifetime, unless we get some rich blood money come in or whatever it might be, I can't see us ever winning a Premier League. But I can see us winning FA Cups. I can see us winning League Cups. I can see us now winning, the Europa League and stuff like that. So I through my whole life of 30 odd years, I've always been told Spurs are a cup team. Spurs are a cup team. We've never been a league team. Spurs are a cup team. Why all of a sudden is everyone putting all their eggs into the fact that we had a terrible league campaign? Yes, we had a bad league campaign, but we're still in the division and we've won a European trophy. It's just baffling my brain how people just move the goalposts. Like, would people still be kicking off if we had finished 10th and won the trophy?
I mean, can I bring up that comment? I mean, Dave was one who saw me on Sean's show this afternoon, and I mean, I can't agree with this more. If someone told you before the season Spurs were going to lift a major trophy, and qualify for UCL football. It's like, where can I sign up, mate? You know, how we get there, that's exactly what I said. It doesn't matter. And yet we're talking about the future of the manager. To me, it's insanity. Ian, I know the league form wasn't good. Abysmal. I know maybe there's some annoyance that Ange says, I'm sacrificing the league because I want to win the Europa League. And I can understand if he does that and fails in his objective. And they say, look, you sacrificed the league. You didn't win this. We finished 17th. You lost in the semi-finals of the Europa League. You lost in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. You lost in the 4th or 5th round of the FA Cup. You know, sorry, we need to move on. I get that. But he didn't. He says, I'm going to win. I want to win the Europa League. I'm going to win the Europa League. And you'll get your Champions League football. And he's still out. He still looks like he might be out of a job. I don't know. I mean, it's beyond senseless to me. But there you go.
The thing for me, Ian, as a season ticket holder, it was frustrating going, because as a season ticket holder, our club, unlike most clubs, you only get the 19 Premier League games. Most other clubs, you get 19 Premier League games, and then you get a certain handful of cup games as well. Tottenham Hotspur don't do that, unsurprisingly, with our chairman. But so that is annoying that, you know, I'm paying the highest season ticket and I've gone along, and actually for half the season, we come to find out that they've not been putting any effort into the Premier League. I completely understand the frustration with that. But at the end of the day, I've gone to then watch my team win a European trophy that I never thought we would win in my lifetime. So, and gave us one of the best weeks that we've had in, well, many, many years.
Well,
and we could probably find out.
I were 12 when we won the Europa League, or the UEFA Cup as it was, first year of the UEFA Cup in 1972. And we were 24 that magical night against Anderlecht at the Lane when we won the second leg and won the cup on penalties. Magical nights. And tonight, I mean, Adrian might remember 63 in Rotterdam. I don't. You know, I absolutely don't. But, you know, these are magical occurrences. And, I mean, there's a comment from Nita there, you know, that... Oh, hang on, that's not the one I wanted, sorry. The reason why that's the one, sorry. The reason why we're spinning around, no long-term plans have been built at our club on the football side. DL, no more excuses, please. And I mean, I think this is what annoys me about Levy, is that he is a highly intelligent, educated man. He has a first-class honours degree from Cambridge in economics and land economics. I mean, this man is no monk by any standard, and yet he seems to be wholly incapable of anything that might resemble joined-up thinking when it comes to running a football club. Adrian, you want to come in?
Yeah, well, Paratici came in when Dean Rastrick was running the academy, because I watched all the games last year, the 21 and 21 games of that. They ripped it up. We got rid of the pay structure. Kids couldn't earn so money. Well, fair enough. Well, then we ain't going to attract them. You pay the wages, you bring them in. What happened? They sweep up both competitions. Even the young 18s won a cup this year as well, right? They won a cup. So, and we have failed better in the transfer market. And we have spent well over £1 billion since the stadium opened in 2019 on players. But, like, we failed Richarlison, you know, Davinson Sanchez, Lo Celso, Ndombele. You know, 200 million in, that's without the wages, right? Probably another 200 million on top. I don't know. So we failed there. What's always stuck in my throat is how you can have a multi-billion worth business, even now, which it now is, and behave in such an amateurish manner throughout your footballing side of your club. Not the business side, the footballing side. Because back in the day when Spurs football was known as the Spurs way, we always played an attractive, attacking style of football, right? Which was our DNA. And we lost our way. Now, to me, it's different now. You've got more teams. You've got all these academies which didn't exist back in the day. But you have your academy, your lowest level academy, whatever year it is, nines, whatever it is, upwards, all playing the same way, all playing the Spurs DNA way, right? And you do that. And then once you do that, with the players you've got, and you can do it because they're kids. You can play it to any system. When you do that, if you're ever going to look for a new manager, you don't have to necessarily be a personality, a game show host type manager like a Mourinho or a Conte, right? It doesn't have to be glamorous or even have the best CV. It helps if he's got something on his CV, but you bring in a manager that plays that attractive attacking style of football, right? And then he's a fit. Then he fits the Spurs DNA. What do? We brought in Conte and Mourinho. Winners, world-class managers in their own right, but they didn't fit Spurs. We always knew it was going to end badly with those. We always knew it was going to end badly. And I just think this club, they have failed better in the transfer market. We've failed better recently. And we just need to have, everyone like-minded, everyone pulling in the same direction through the club at all levels. This is us. This is what we are. Our DNA is this. We play this. Whether it's 4-4-4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, which is virtually the same, really, because you never see teams set up like that and stay like that throughout a game. So you have that, and then and then we know as fans when we're bringing a player in what type of player is for the system we play. Then we know. But if you keep chopping and changing, you'll never have that foundation that gives you that stability that you need.
Yeah. Okay. If you're watching on Adrian, I've just actually put on the if you're watching on X, just remind me how they like and subscribe if you're watching on X.
I'll look in my profile now and have a look.
Yeah. Okay. What we're gonna move on to.
Well, if you're watching on X, you can like it and you can repost it. And if you can take 2 seconds out of your time just to come over to the YouTube channel and click the like button and subscribe as well, that would help massively.
Okay. I'm not sure how to do that. I should probably need my granddaughter on now. She'd probably do and she'll do it, But yeah, if you're watching, please do that. Tom, just remind them how they do it if they're watching on.
Yeah, so if you're watching on X, just liking the post and also reposting it as well, so it shares it out to more Spurs fans.
Okay.
We got 49 views on X Twitter, right? On XCOM, 49 of viewers there, which is excellent. Thank you.
I've got 72 in total, so we've got a decent number into
It's
the
Sunday.
close season now. Not going to maybe get the 200 we had last week. Maybe if Ange
you never know later on
the broadcast, but
when the Americans come on.
What I want to move you on to, and particularly those of you that are watching on X or watching, particularly if you're watching on the YouTube channel, is, let's be honest, Thomas Frank appears to be the big name or the name that's mentioned today. But let's bring you in, Tom, on if we're getting rid of Ange, and I think none of us want to see that. Who would you like? We can talk through them one at a time if you like, but is there one in particular you'd say, yeah, that's the one I want?
I mean, so on the original point, not wanting Ange sacked, I don't want Ange sacked unless if they say this is what we're doing moving forward and this is why we're bringing this new guy in, then it might give me something I can follow. Of that list you've got up there, there's probably 3 that I wouldn't, maybe 4 at a push that I wouldn't mind, and that would be Frank, Glasner, Xavi, or Inzaghi. I wouldn't go near Farioli and De Zerbi or Corberan with a 10-foot barge pole. De Zerbi, we've done the angry Italian. I don't want another one. Farioli, he played some nice stuff, but he's a very defensive manager from what I've read up on him. And that's one of the reasons why I ended up leaving Ajax ultimately, is because I think there was a bit of that's not quite what they necessarily wanted from their manager. Inzaghi, again, do you know what? Seeing him swinging his jacket around his head last night and all of this stuff, it just made me it gave me real freaking Mikel Arteta vibes that just made me cringe massively. I'm not sure I could, people moan about Ange just standing on the side with his hand in his pocket, so I'd rather that than a manager doing all of that crap. Xavi interests me in terms of, like, you know, he's worked with young players. He worked at Barcelona under some tight measures with all of their like issues they were having with financials and stuff like that, and got a tune out of them. And although my one concern is seeing how much Hansi Flick has now moved them on from where he got them to.
Yeah.
Glasner, I think the reason why I like Glasner is just I feel like the way that he plays suits the current players we have.
Shut up, Tom.
But
Shut up. That's my line. I will contribute to my own show.
So
carry on. All right.
So yes, that's so Glasner from that perspective. Yeah, I think he suits the players we have. But if we're going to be buying new players, like better players, is that then irrelevant a little bit? I don't know. I think people are a bit dampened down on the idea of Thomas Frank. I really think he could be a sleeping giant. If I'm honest with you, he is a manager that gets the best out of the players that he has. When he was with Brentford in the Championship, they played really attacking football. They scored loads of goals. They were really front foot possession based. He then had the nous that when they came up into the Premier League, that he went, that ain't going to fly in this league. We need to change what we're doing. And he went more defensive. So he was able to adjust based on the circumstances, which is really refreshing. I don't think we've particularly had a manager that does that for a while. And I think Brentford have got more and more attacking as they've become more of a mainstay in the league. I mean, blimey, Visser and Buemo, they contributed 20 plus goals, goals and assists in the season between them. So he definitely can get the best. And also, like, let's be fair to Thomas Frank here with Brentford. They sold Ivan Toney, and everyone's like, oh, that could be Brentford done. They sold their, striker who scored 20 plus goals for them last season. No one has mentioned this season that Brentford lost Ivan Toney. It's not even been brought up once because of how good Mbeumo and Visser have been, thanks to, obviously, Thomas Frank. So there is a lot that I find appealing with Thomas Frank. And he could be the manager that if you don't get him now, someone else will, and then you look back on it and you regret that you weren't the ones to take that risk.
Tom,
yeah,
me put something back to you on that. Thomas Frank lost 19 games the season before the one just gone.
Yep. And
we're sacking a manager that lost 22 games to bring in a manager that lost 19.
But the level of Brentford's squad is far and below the level of the Tottenham squad.
And Ange's squad has been decimated by injuries, so it probably wasn't any better.
Yeah, yes and no. But Spurs were not the only team that had lots of injury problems this year. Like, a lot of teams do. And I think that is, lots of people like, so, okay, I'm going to defend Ange, and then I'm going to so Spurs were not the only team to have a lot of injury problems. We definitely had a catastrophic amount, but a lot of teams have it. And I think actually the reason why so many teams had injuries is because of the way that football is now. The Europa League and the Champions League now has 6 more games in it for if you're going to win it than what you used to have. So you've already added an extra 6 games in there. You've the League Cup and FA Cup. You've got all of those games. The Premier League, you've got all those games. You've got international games being played every fucking 2 months. There's another 2 international games that all these players play. So players are playing non-stop every 3 days for 10 months of the year. Add to that VAR stopping and starting games. So instead of a game being continuous where players' muscles are constantly triggering and firing and going, they're triggering and firing, they're stopping. Then they're back up and triggering and firing, then they're stopping. And that is a surefire way, that is scientifically proven to cause muscle injuries. And most of the injuries for players nowadays are muscle injuries. And it's because players are starting, then they're stopping for 3 minutes while a decision's being made, then they're having to restart again, then they're stopping. And that is what's causing all of these injuries that players are having. It didn't just affect Tottenham, it affected lots of teams. The only team it didn't really affect was Liverpool. They kind of lucked out a little bit with the fact that they didn't really get many injuries. So it wasn't just Tottenham that got injuries, but Tottenham did get significantly more than others. Yes.
All right. Before I bring
there is
you
a
in,
caveat
Adrian,
to that, though. There is a caveat to that because
Adrian,
Cool.
hang on. Before I bring you in, because this is something that came up on Sean's show this afternoon. Well, the one I'm coming to, but how do teams like Brighton, Brentford, etc. keep finding gems yet our scouting team can't? Secondly, why don't we have as many coming through state-of-the-art facility? I mean, I'm looking at how the kids coming through now and thinking, with the Mikey Moores and the Ajays and
Bergvall, Archie Gray.
There's Archie Gray's was trained at Leeds, but there seems to me to be a fairly good production line now in the academy, Adrian.
Yeah, and we brought in, and look, that's a bit of a myth because we brought in your doggy, Sar, Spence, right? And like some of them were farmed out. Sar went to Mets, didn't he? Your doggy was in Italy. Yeah, so I think there's a bit of a myth with that. I think we have brought good young kids in, and we have brought good signings in. When we brought in even Bentancur and Kulu's only 24 now,
No, I was just going to say, I think what Darren was more aiming at there with his comment was like, how do Brighton and Brentford seem to buy the next, Brighton lost Caicedo, but then they already then brought in Belieber, who is now turned into one of the best midfielders in the league. So I think that's more likely what he's going. How are they scouting and finding these players before they become known? The thing is that if Tottenham Hotspur had sold Højbjerg in the summer and then bought in a guy that none of us have heard of, Spurs fans would have been up in arms because we're Tottenham Hotspur. We shouldn't be buying the next up and coming player. We should be buying ready-made, oven-ready, all of these sayings that everyone wants to say. So if we can't buy those players for 2 million and put them in and give them a chance, because if they don't hit the ground running, then everyone starts going up in arms. Oh, we needed to buy oven-ready players, not players that are going to grow into.
We did with Danso, didn't we? Kevin Danso, he's signed now. He's a first player now.
Yeah, but he's been around the block like a little bit. Like actually, you look more at Lucas Bergvall as an example. He was a player who was a bit of an unknown. We brought in. He's got his chance, and look how he's come on and improved this year. That's more thing. Udogie is probably another example of a player not really known, brought in, has come on, and he's probably now one of the best left backs in the league, despite some shaky defensive moments here and there. Like so, Spurs are doing it.
Vaskovic.
It's just easier to look at outside in rather than what we're kind of doing.
Tom, one of my worries is that, particularly with the Frank link, and it's not just Frank, it's part of his team and what have you, that this is really typical Levy. He's not looking for the next ready-made player. What he's looking for is to put money on his bottom line and the balance sheet in terms of I'll still keep identifying these young players with a resale value, and I'll sell them on when the time is right, and I'll stick money in the bank. And
Ian,
that's not a way you win trophies.
No,
Ian,
it's not.
when was the last time we sold one of these young players for a huge profit?
No, I can't remember, but it doesn't mean it's not the objective. It goes back to my lack of joined up thinking and coherent thinking from Levy. I still think that's his idea. When he bought Ndombele for 65 million, he didn't buy Ndombele to win the Champions League and get second in the Premier League. He bought Ndombele because he thought he was the next. Someone had told him he was the next £100 million star of European football.
And so did most. And to be fair,
the methodology.
And to be fair, Ian, so did most people when we signed him. We was like, bloody hell, we have signed a quality player here. The problem is none of us knew that he liked spending most of his time in Burger King. So it was just that was a lack of due diligence on learning more not just about what the player can do on the pitch, but what the player is like off the pitch and stuff like that. But yeah, this whole we buy players for resale value. We are terrible. We've been terrible at selling players. Like actually, if we were good at it, we would have sold Dele Alli for 80 million to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
When they came in for him, we would have sold Eric Dyer to Manchester United for 50 million when Jose Mourinho was their manager and came in to buy him. So actually, we are terrible. If that is our philosophy, we are bloody awful at it.
Yeah.
So we you know. Thomas Frank. The only reason the problem is, Ian, is that the reason why we have a perception that is what Thomas Frank is. Thomas Frank is a guy who gets young players in, he builds them up, and then he sells them on. Is because that's what Brentford do, and where Thomas Frank has got his depth of work is at Brentford. If Thomas Frank came into Tottenham Hotspur and had more money to work with, better players coming in, being signed by a Paratici or whoever it might be, and he improves those players. So he gets players who are already better and then manages to improve them more, or at least get the most out of them. Is that a bad thing? Like, I don't think it is. I think he's proven that he can make players better, and that he's proven that he gets them. I think with Thomas Frank, it's not necessarily about making players better, but it's more that he seems to be able to get the best out of the players he's got and change his system and his tactics to suit the players he has.
All right, let me get Adrian in. I mean, first of all, Adrian, this comment, because this came up this afternoon about Liam Rosenior, young pragmatic manager, defensive. I mean, we're not going to take, I mean, much as Darren may have a point and he may be the next upcoming thing, we're seriously not going to take on a manager like that in the hope it comes off, are we?
No, if not, we go to Birmingham and bring our coach back, because he's got promoted with Birmingham. So, like, you would do that. No, I mean, like, I'm not inspired by this list. I see you put my name at the end for a bit of fun, but I'm not taking a cut in wages for no one in. You know what I mean? So, on that list of managers. But, I'm just not inspired by him. And Glasner, yeah, well, he's got a CV because he won the Europa League with Frankfurt, and now he's won the FA Cup with Palace. Xavi, what little I know about him, but I know on the Irish Hotspur they weren't keen on Xavi. Inzaghi, I don't really know how he plays his game. I've not watched Milan. Don't get much chance to watch European football. I mean, we're looking at managers. I mean, we seem to be, in a way, a little bit desperate. We're looking at managers that hold their own with limited resources in the Premier League. Not that they may or may not turn out to be good managers with Spurs if we took them on. That's Frank, Glasner, Marco Di Silva, all in that category. Don't know much about Francesco Farioli. I think he's left Ajax. I think they left on mutual consent. Robert De Zerbi, well, his Brighton team played well, but another sort of gesticulating lunatic, says the wrong things at a time. Don't know much about Carlos Corberan at Valencia. I'm just not, and you know what's going to happen if Ange goes. And look at the pressure a new manager at Spurs. Ange goes, right? Imagine the scenario. Ange is gone. We bring in Frank, or one of these, we bring him in. What is actually your expectations of the new manager? What must he achieve in his first season? Because we're not winning the Premier League and we're not winning the Champions League. So you'd have to say, well, a domestic cup and at least a Europa League place. Now, I would take a Europa League place over the Champions League, because I think whenever we're in it, we can win that competition. So, and I wouldn't mind winning it again and again. I mean, Seville won it 3 years on a turn, and you understand why, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm not, this list, I'm like, meh, basically, with the list, honestly. I think those that really want Ange out don't care. But when we get one in, as Tom alluded to earlier, they'll be the first to complain, right? that the wrong manager was brought in, right? So, I mean, and if you can't get the man you want, wait. You know, why be desperate? If you don't want any of these, or you don't fancy any of them, then wait. What's wrong with waiting a season? Potts will be available at the end of next year. And I'd rather Ange stayed. I think he's earned the right. Plus, last season, which people want to forget, he only lost 12 games. We got that 26 points in. But then with all them key players out, we got another 40 points. We finished with 66 points and got fifth, right? So tell me, was that luck getting him 40 extra points with the injuries we've got? With the injuries we had to carry and the suspension, was that luck getting him 40 extra points? I think a lot of his critics don't see that. They suffer from perception deception, what I call it, right? And they don't see it. He's a far better manager than he's given credit for. I mean, his press conference is crap. We know that. And he says the wrong things. All managers do that. And you can trip them up all the time because you're going to make so many press conferences over your time you're in football. You know, it's easy to, oh, he said this and he said that. And we had fans like Tom alluded to that were saying, oh, yeah, but when the players are back, he threw you know, the league under the bus, basically, and went for it. Well, he said he was going to wrap in cotton wool. No one complained while we're with a chance of winning the competition. And by then, we'd reached a tipping point in the league anywhere. Even if we'd won a few more games, that wouldn't have changed people's outlook or attitude towards Ange at all. So, yeah, I mean, I want to see him stay. Look, if he doesn't, I mean, I don't get a vote on it. None of us do. We only speculate. I mean, I would like to see him stay next season. I'd like to see him what he can do with the fit squad of players and then judge him on that, because I think he did well last season to finish fifth with what he had to put up with. And I'll end my little rant there.
Yeah, Adrian, I think what you said earlier on in that rant was kind of spot on. Like, if you're going to sack Ange now, you have to be 100% certain that the manager you're bringing in is the guy you want for the long term.
Mm.
Because if you can't get the guy you want in, if you're not convinced that the guy that you're getting in is for the long term, then there is no point in changing Ange. Like, there is literally no point.
And the pressure on them, Tom, the pressure on them to win a trophy after Ange has won one and to get that European position, right?
The only thing for me where this feels different is that for once we're talking about changing our manager or upgrading our manager when we're actually in a position of strength. The last few times that in fact, I can't remember the last time we changed the manager from a position of strength, but like the last time that I literally can't remember. Every time we've changed the manager, it's because we've been on a downward trajectory and we need a new manager to come in to put ourselves up. Whereas at this moment, we're actually on an upward trajectory. We're going into a competition that we all want to be in the Champions League. Everyone's on a high from winning the trophy. It's just, yeah. Oh, my camera's died.
So Adrian, if you've got to pick one, let's go back to that list. If you've got to pick one, who are you going for?
Well, although I don't know, look, all I know about Xavi is he played 767 games for Barcelona, fantastic footballer, world class, right? So he would know football and he will know footballers. That's why I would pick him. I know he was at Barca, he brought Lamal through, didn't he? Brought a few youngsters through because Barca were under financial constraints. But that's about all my knowledge of him. I mean, the Irish Hotspur and Jack Kaniki were talking about, there were other stories that weren't so good about him behind the scenes, blah, 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 and all that. But to like balance that, I've read good things about Xavi. I've not read any of these other stories. So without, I mean, I'll research him a bit more if we got him in. But yeah, so he is probably the one I would pick here. If I'm picking one, I would pick him because he's played the game, he knows the game, and he knows players, and he knows quality. You know, okay. So
if I have to go for one, and Thomas Frank doesn't inspire me. De Silva, Ferraioli, I don't know much about him, but as I say, we've got one or two of these temperamental Italians that are in that list. I know nothing about Corber at Valencia. I don't watch enough Spanish football. Inzaghi, if you weren't put off by watching them play last night, nothing will put you off. And that last name, Stroker, no one seems to have picked up on that, but decided against him. Seriously, if Ange were to fall under a bus tonight, the manager I would want from that list, Nagelsmann could be on it as well. There's one or two others might be on it, but the one I would go for is Oliver Glasner. He's done a really good job at Palace.
Tell you who else is not on the list, and I love the way his team played when he came to Spurs, was Ten Hag when he brought that Ajax team to Spurs. I mean, he might not be the sparkling personality that you want, but the team played wonderful football.
Ten Hag was signed for Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah, I know he's at Bayer Leverkusen now. Like,
Yeah.
signed on.
I wouldn't touch him with
He
a
might
10
not
foot
fancy
pole,
Fair
really.
enough, fair enough.
Really.
But I'm just saying that the Ajax side he played,
Yeah.
played some great, and they went away and won at Madrid and places like that. I mean, he built a very good Ajax side, young team. So
Yeah. Well, let me tell you why I want to go for
Tuchel,
Glasner.
Nagelsmann.
People in the chat can. We've got a couple of others coming on the chat as well. But the reason I'd go for Glasner is, first of all, and I think, Tom, you alluded to this, you did allude to this, is I think when you look at the current squad, the players we have and the way he sets up, that would be the easiest fit because he likes to play three at the back. So he's got Romero, he's got Van der Ven. He could easily bring Danso or Dragusin into that. Vuskovic. We don't know what's going to happen with Phillips and Dorrington, but he could easily find three centre halves from the ones we've got on our books without buying any new ones. We know he likes to play to advance his fullbacks, and Porro, Udogi, Spence, and maybe another are there. We'll maybe talk about Carl Walker-Peters when we talk about some transfers in a few minutes. He plays three up front as well, so he's got the two. So we've got two in the middle. So you've got Bergvall, you've got Gray, you've got Bissouma, you've got Bentancur, who I've missed out one from that. You've got Sarr. So there's plenty of options in those roles. This is with the current squad without any ins and outs. And then you've got Sonny, or you've got Tell, or you've got Odebear, or you've got Solanke, you've got Richarlison, you've got Johnson, you've got Kulusevski. So Oliver Glasner could come in and work with that current squad. I think he'd put one or two out and bring one or two in, not least of which one would be Edzzy. Yes, it's a counter-attacking style that doesn't necessarily endear people to the Spurs fans to that style of football, but the counter-attacking football they played at Tottenham the second last match of the season was absolutely superb. He had oh God, what's his name? Emery in the semi-final on toast. He had Pep on toast in the final. Tactically, his teams were really, really excellent. So, of all that, we're not going to go through them all. But if Ange has to go, the one I think is by some distance the best suited to Tottenham is Oliver Glasner.
I get that.
Anyway.
I get that.
Anyway, let's say hello to a couple of people in the chat. Yeah, I mean, Paul Brown. I agree with this, Paul. Absolutely couldn't agree with that more. Let's see what else we've got. Sorry, there's one or two things I picked up and I want to get.
David Clark's good comment at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up. I want to come back to David as well. Where's that gone? Sorry, Van der Ven played just 12 games and Romero 13. The back five started only 12 times, and I think our record, Aussie Ange with that back five is something like played 21, won 16, drawn 3, lost 2. It's actually league winning form. It is actually league winning form. So let's find Dave. Yeah,
that's where, Ian, that irrespective of the manager, the squad needs improving.
Yeah, agreed.
And I just come back to that. I just feel that Ange deserves, we could get a new manager in, buy a bunch of much better players, and everyone goes, see, it was the right decision to sack Ange. But if Ange has achieved winning a European trophy, getting to the semi-final of a Carabao Cup, yes, the league form has been abhorrent. It's been terrible. 22 losses is not acceptable in any way, shape or form. If he had a better squad, it wouldn't have been 22 losses. It still probably wouldn't have been amazing, You know, he might have finished 10th or 9th or something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been anywhere near as bad as it was. For crying out loud, our centre-back pairing for the majority of the season ended up being Archie Gray and Ben Davis. Like, that's ridiculous. Blame Andrew you want for the injuries, but the fact that our backup centre-back pairing was Archie Gray and Ben Davis is just abysmal squad building from whoever it was that was responsible for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's David's comment. Sorry that I took me. Good evening, David. If I didn't say it from Leicester. This is nail on head time. Levy is between a rock and a hard place because he can get the coach he wants. Ange wins trophy, and he has to take into account the huge backlash from the Spurs players if he sacks Ange. Well, David, is he between a rock and a hard place? I mean, all he needs to say is we've won a European trophy. Those were our objectives, to try and win a trophy, to get back into the top European competition. We've achieved that. There's nothing to see here. Granted, if we went 10 games, 15 games into next season and we're still languishing mid-table or below, fine, you make a change. But people saying, oh, well, it's a waste of a season. Let's do it now. But what happens if we get to November this season and Thomas Frank, for example, has played how many games? 14 games, lost 7 of them, and has played 4 Champions League games and has lost 3 of them. Where does that take us? Where are we then? We're actually worse off.
This is the gamble, isn't it, Ian? I mean, when you talk about backlash from Spurs players or fans, I mean, it's hard to judge any sort of influence from Spurs fans on social media. I mean, I was on Sean Butler's show, and I think they had a poll, and it was 72% Ange out. And then I look at Chris Cowling's show, and it's 72% Ange in. I mean, like, where are we? I actually think there is a large proportion of the Spurs fan base that are Ange in because he's won the trophy. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was 70% or 80% of fans out there. And you have to remember at the stadium, there's probably thousands of fans that don't even use social media anyway, which
well, no, absolutely. But I mean, to me, Levy should be so fucking grateful to Ange. There's been protests, and the last couple of protests look big. The ones I saw, and I mean, I know a few of the people that are involved in them just from my involvement with Spurs social media. And there were 3 men and a dog. It's a little bit more than that. But the last couple of protests looked like they had some serious numbers.
Yeah.
With the yellow shirts or whatever it was, we want Levy out. And then they go and win a major European trophy. And anybody would think, Daniel should be shaking Ange's hand and giving him the £2 million bonus and saying, thank you very much. What a monkey you've got off my back. Because anyone who goes shouting out Levy out now against the background of winning a European trophy is going to look stupid.
Well, Levy is between a rock and a hard place, but his easiest solution is actually to keep Ange. That's his easiest solution, to keep him, because if he gets the manager wrong, and all the pressure's on Levy.
Levy out again.
If he gets the manager wrong, all the pressure's on Levy. So even if Paratici, but like Levy's the boss, even if Paratici's got someone lined up, or they've already got someone who's agreed to come in, so they're not swinging the axe until Ange is back, which I think you'd have to do. You'd already have to have a manager that says, yes, I'll come. Okay, you're going to have to wait a week and everything's sorted. If that's the case, then it's already done and dusted. But other than that, the easiest solution for Ange, where Levy's got the fans behind him because he's won a trophy, is to stick with Ange for next season. That's the easiest, because if he brings the manager in and they fall flat on their face, Levy's going to be under more pressure than he's ever been under.
And this is, again, I keep saying this about lack of joined up.
Even Jess.
That's why I put that up. Hi, Jess. This total lack of joined up thinking. I don't know whether Levy has this sort of dreamer idea that if he somehow brings in this new manager, this is the holy grail. And the new manager will take us to the promised land. Whereas and just won him a trophy and just taken that monkey off his back and just given us the most joyful experience as Spurs managers, as Spurs fans, certainly since 1991 and maybe even since 1984. And the first reaction is he's going to sack him. It's beyond my comprehension. It really is.
Can I take a moment to promote the channel? We've got 85 of you viewing us at the moment, which is fantastic. Yeah, we do normally do shows, but it is the close season, so we'll probably be only doing shows on a Friday and a Sunday if Drew Zilla wants to do one. We won't be doing shows on a Tuesday during the close season unless there's breaking news. Obviously, we'll come on. But we do have a Facebook channel for those that can bother to use Facebook. That's got 14,500 members. We've got the Facebook page because the videos go out on the page. It's approaching 300 members. And we've got 3,200 on XCOM Twitter. We've got them on there. Our shows normally go out on Tuesdays and Sundays at 9 o'clock UK time, 2100. And Fridays at 10 o'clock because we're trying to attract a Canadian, American and Southern Hemisphere audience. So thank you all for your questions and for viewing us. It's much appreciated. Memberships are open if people wish to join. And also, if you want to subscribe to the channel, we can't see it as we're on the show, but in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the YouTube subscribe button. All you've got to do is click that button and subscribe to the channel. And with that, back to you, Ian.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah. Let's talk about some other things because I think we've exhausted the Ange thing. I think we will know soon enough. And we may be back chatting about this on Tuesday night. But I need to put some light on, I think, as well. The light is fading here fast. Adrian, just pick it up for a minute while I try and get some light on in this room. Ryan Mason, the new West Brom manager. Good move for Ryan. Good move for West Brom. Yeah,
good move. He's 33, I think now, 35, something like that. It's a good move for him to go and cut his teeth. As far as taking Spurs coaches, unless they're very junior coaches, I mean, you got Serge Romendo and Nick Montgomery. I think they're staying. Milo Jelinek was with Ange before he was his captain for Australia, and the other coach now is Matty Wells, and he's head coach under Ange, he's second in command. So I don't get the coaches going unless he's taking, the junior ones. I hope he don't nick Wayne Burnett with the under 21s or is it Steve Davis? I forget who's got the under 18s now. Yeah, so I wish him well. And he's highly regarded, so there's something about it. He's took a lot of criticism for the few times he stepped in, but at least he had the kahunas to step in, right? And I wish him well in his new job. I mean, we'll see how he goes. Tom, what's your take?
Yeah, I think it's a good move for Ryan, to be honest with you. He needs to, if he wants to be a manager, he needs to go out and be a manager. He can't just keep waiting for a Spurs manager to fail so he can step in as caretaker manager. He needs to go and cut his teeth somewhere and show that he can do it. And I think he'll be a success. I genuinely could see him doing quite well at West Brom. He's probably a bit different to what West Brom normally go for. Well, they're normally quite pragmatic and defensive in their approach. He's not really going to be that. He's like Ryan Mason. If he's going to play football, he's going to play football like Pochettino played football. That's the style he's going to kind of go for. But yeah, no, I think it's good that he's finally going and taking a managerial job.
Do you see him getting Lancashire back on loan again? Another player? I think you're only allowed to take. No, actually, for the lower division clubs, they're allowed as many loans as possible. Premier League clubs aren't, but I should imagine he'll have a look at the squad there, and if he needs one of our younger players or a Lancashire, he'll come and take two of us, I'm sure, which we'll be glad to give them as experience. You know what I mean?
So I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it will happen because I think he'll have a place in the squad, but there's a part of me that wouldn't be surprised if he took Mikey Moore.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let me throw something in there because I put this on Twitter when it came out. Was or the story broke about West Brom wanting to appoint him. was it strikes me as being, if he took Ben Davies there as as a player coach, I think that would be a brilliant appointment. I think Ben Davies, apart from his maturity, his experience, I think is going to be an outstanding coach. He seems to have all the attributes, to me, to make an outstanding leader in the dressing room, whether as a player or whether as a coach. He'll bring a bit of know-how. And I was really interested when Archie Gray was talking, I think after the Europa League win, that when he came to Tottenham, the player that took him under his wing was Ben Davies, and how much Ben had helped him settle in, and he didn't think he'd have done anywhere near as well if it wasn't for Ben's help. So I just think Ben Davies is a future top manager waiting to happen.
Yeah, well, I think Ben has also been offered a job by the Hollywood boys at Wrexham that took over Wrexham. So if this is a money issue, they're going to outpay West Brom. But I mean, like, either way, I think Davis's future is assured. Either way.
Yeah. Let's talk about some transfer news.
Go on.
That's always fun. Leroy Sané.
This is an interesting one because he's either using leverage at Bayern Munich because his contract's coming in to get himself a super payday, basically, because he's won everything with Bayern. But then the angle that interests me is that he wants London. If he wants London, get him in. He's 29. He's got the experience. Get him in, right? And that's about all I've got to say on it, Tom.
Yeah, he's a top quality player, and he gets labelled as injury prone, but he played 30 games in the Bundesliga last year, and I think he got 18 goals and assists. So not a bad return for an injury prone player. I mean, if he's free and he wants to come in and he wants to play, I think it's a no-brainer, really. Yeah. But I think the problem is just with our squad building at the moment. I think especially with Alfie Whiteman going and Fraser Foster, we have only got one club-trained player to be able to register on the Champions League squad, which means we can only register 17
17 foreign if we got the 4 academy trained players that have been with the academy for 3 years. And we was penalised by 2 last year. No, we've got more than one actually. I'll get the squads here somewhere. You could go through it and look.
We've got one. We've got one club trained player.
This is why I think we're going to get Carl Walker-Peters in for nothing, but he won't be a big transfer.
Do you know? Yeah, Carl Walker-Peters, I think would, from a squad building perspective, and the fact that he can cover both fullback positions, I think would make a lot of sense. Is it necessarily what we want? No, but I'm not being funny. Scott Carson has had a contract at Man City for the last God knows how many years because he's a club trained player and stuff like that. So
I think now that Scarlett's 21, I think he might qualify as academy. He's been there. He was there as a 16. But that would be 2.
Is Scarlett gonna be here next year?
Yeah, I think he'll be here. Yeah, and if you brought Walker-Peters in, you'd have 3. So now we might be down to. But at the moment in the squad, what I'm looking at, I can put it up. I've put 17 FP at the bottom. We've got 17 foreign players there, and we only had 15 last year. And it is an issue because last year, come January, when we re-entered the squad, the quota, we brought in Danso, Spence, and Tell, and we left out Dragerson because he was injured. We left out Kinski, and we left out Werner. Now, this is going to be an issue because if we got Champions League football and I'm a player, I'm going to be pissed off if I'm left out of that squad. So this is why I put Biss and Richie at the end, or even Tell, because we might have to say, well, sorry, we ain't signing Tell, and we're selling Biss and Richie.
Yeah,
they've got to be professional. If it means being ruthless,
But this is what I mean in terms of our squad building, without going and getting like club trained players, we are going to be a bit screwed. So that's why Carl Walker-Peters, as much as I hate it, and I don't think it's necessarily what we should be doing, it's actually something we need. The other one we could look at who would be club trained and might be a bit better than, but I'm not sure he would come back, and I'm not sure we would want to go back there, is Cole Walker. But I don't think he
go
would
to
start.
Burnley and get Marcus Edwards.
Yeah, but
Madueke, I'm not sure if Madueke at Chelsea he might qualify. I'm not sure.
Madueke probably would, but again, you're going to have to be spending big money on that. And is he someone who necessarily improves?
No,
That's why Carl Walker-Peters makes a lot of sense, because he can cover both fullback positions. He's not a terrible player, but he helps us out in other aspects and stuff as well. In the next few years, we'll be fine, because obviously your Moores and Donleys and all of those and Vuskovic eventually and stuff, they'll all count as club trained players, like after 3 years of being in and getting over 21. But this is the failing of our squad building and our recruitment over the last few years. There is a quick solve. If you want a player who indefinitely improves our team and is club trained, and that's to get Harry Kane back. Yeah,
is who?
Harry Kane. Harry Kane. I don't think he's coming back. I think he's done with Spurs. He'll always be a fan, but yeah.
Tom, tell yay or nay.
For significantly less than the 50 million, yay. If it's for the 50 million, nay. I genuinely think he could be a top quality, potentially bordering on world-class player in the future. Is he that now? Absolutely not. But I genuinely think if we don't purchase him now, we'll look back on it in 3-4 years' time and go, bloody hell, we missed out on that, didn't we?
Tom, if he's that good, why do Bayern want to punt him?
Because Bayern have got an infinite amount of players that they could get, and also if Bayern want to buy the upper echelon players that they want to buy, then they need to sell players for pure profit, and he is a player that they can sell for pure profit. That's why. But you know, Bayern Munich have wanted to sell lots of players over the years.
I love his attitude. Attitude, but it's got to be the right price or another loan.
Ian, why did Barcelona get rid of Ousmane Dembele?
Yeah, mistake.
And that's one of the best players in the world this season. You know,
to make mistakes. I mean, agreed. That's totally 100% right. I mean, I would probably be favouring another year's loan, if I'm honest. With an option price, but an option price of £25 million, 30 million euros, maybe with some add-ons.
How many foreign 19-year-olds come into the Premier League and set the world on fire?
No, I agree with you. I think people. When I first went to Spurs in the mid-60s, Tom, been about the same time as your dad went, maybe even slightly after Adrian went. I mean, I can remember talking, we've signed Martin Chivers. We'd signed Martin Chivers for £125,000 from Southampton, I think in 1967. And that was a mega, I think that was a British record fee for a player. It was a mega amount of money, however hard that is. And it said, we bought Chivers from Southampton. Southampton, yeah. And you're like, it was like the grown-ups said, but it will take him a year to settle in, son. You know, when Liverpool bought players, they went in the reserves for 2 years. They never bought a player to play in the first team. Even an established player, or half-established player, they bought them with a view to putting them in the reserves for 2 years. Some of you won't know what reserve team football is, but every team had a proper reserve team that played every Saturday afternoon at 3:00 like the first team. And you learn to play the way the club wanted to play. Now everybody wants instant gratification, and you're right. You're a 19-year-old kid. You go to a foreign country. I don't know how good his English is. I presume his French and German are pretty good, but maybe got to learn another language, another system. It's a physically demanding league, and if you don't run past 6 players on your first game and stick the ball into the net from 20 yards, you're useless. And it's modern society. People used to get given time. Now they're given no time. I agree with Tom. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's got ability. He's got a lot of potential, but he's entitled to some time to find that. And the club's entitled to, as Tottenham Hotspur are entitled to time to see if he's going to be a top class player in the Premier League, because that's another thing as well. You buy players, somebody, and that was Paratici, identified Brian Gill as the player that would set the world on fire. And you took one look at him. I took one look at him and thought, there's no way he's a Premier League player. There's no way somewhere that small can cope with the physicality of the Premier League. So, but anyway, so that's my view. Let's move on from that. The one that will not go away again is Eberici Eze. I changed your muted to mooted, by the way, Adrian. But
that's fine, because you get when you write that happens.
Mooted. This is one that just doesn't seem to go away. That the player wants to come to Tottenham, although he's using this as leverage, like Sarni's using Spurs as leverage, Spurs as leverage to get more money out of Bayern. But again, we're interested. There's rumours this morning that Palace could be interested in a deal and taking either Bissouma, Solomon, and Richardson, or Richardson. It could be more than one, of course, as a player cut plus cash deal. Thoughts, Tom?
I said last summer, and I'll say it again here, Eberici Eze is just quintessentially a Tottenham Hotspur player. And I think he's a good enough player to play on the wing. I think he's a good enough player to play in the middle. I think he's a good enough player to adapt to play whatever position he's asked to play. And the thing with Eze is that he just, and I said this about Cunha, and this is why I really wanted Cunha. I'm gutted he's going Man United, is that he's a match winner. Like, he's a guy who can just pick and do a moment from absolutely nowhere. And they are the players that you need to pay a bit of a premium for. Of course, maybe he needs to be a bit more consistent, but maybe he becomes more consistent when he's got better players around him. And actually, maybe he becomes a bit more consistent when he's fighting for his position against players like James Maddison and Kulusevski and Heung-min Son or whoever it might be.
Yeah.
You know, I just... It feels like a no-brainer as well, because he's homegrown. Okay, not club trained, but he's also homegrown.
No, he's not club trained. But what I like about him is whether you played, 4-3-3 as Glasner does and Ange does, or 4-2-3-1 as Frank plays, or whatever system you want to come up with. Eze fits into that either as a left-sided forward or the left-sided sort of front midfield player. I mean, I agree with Tom totally, Adrian. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at videos of players, because people always say, "Oh, yeah, but they all look good in the videos." I look for players with vision, who move the ball quickly, can make things happen. Eze's got all that, and he's got a good pass on him as well. He can pick a player out in a tight spot. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think we're going to get this deal done. He's with the same agency, the BAA agency that actually Ange is with, and some of our players are with. There have been talks behind the scenes. If we have to strike the 68 release clause, then strike it. Get this player in.
Yeah.
Get this player in.
I need to catch up on the chat.
I think the problem with the release clause is that Crystal Palace want it paid all in one lump sum, which is just never going to happen.
We physically can't do that. Let's be honest, we can't do it. Anyway, Graham's saying hi to Jess. So let me move on. Steve, sorry, what have I done there? Yeah, sorry, that was it. I had it up. Steve D. Ange
Postecoglou.
Yeah. Okay. Where have we got Brian Maguire? signing you Spurs to get a better contract at Bayern. Yeah, I look, I'm as cynical as you are. I mean, there was talk last week. Bayern have offered him, or his agents have offered him to Spurs because he's out of contract. You know, yeah, you don't know. We don't know what goes on, but you might be absolutely right. I mean, I'm hearing that Bayern have offered him £325,000 a week. Well, with the best will in the world, the most we would go to, I reckon, is 225, maybe 250.
But you can get round that, Ian, can't you? I mean, when they talk about what we hear this argument about wages, when it's players on freeze and all that, you can make the difference up with a signing on fee. If you don't want to break your pay structure, you can give them $5 million as a signing on fee. Maybe it's spread over these 5 years.
Yeah,
you can get round these things like wage wise.
I know, but you know, there's talk he wants to come to London. We'll see. I think that's one that will probably get resolved one way or the other fairly quickly. You could argue if we started next season, Steve D, as poorly as our last 18 months, we might struggle to attract a manager again. At least we'd have a little stock now, by the way I was for Ange starting the year. I actually would disagree with that, Steve. I think by sacking Ange now, anyone coming in, you can go for a Thomas Frank says, well, it's too big an opportunity for, someone at Brentford, for me to turn down. But I think for any credible manager, you say, hang on a minute, manager's got there. He's got him into the Champions League. He's won a trophy and they still sack him, F them for a game of soldiers. David Clark, I think, we're probably with a little bit of us. I don't want Ange, but sorry, I wouldn't sack him to replace it with Silver, Aluminium, or Frank. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I think we would all like Ange to start, but I agree. I wouldn't with Silver or Frank. Glasner, for me, Glasner is the standout. I think we've got. There you go. Jose, I love you.
Frank out.
Yeah.
Jose wants Xavi. He wants Xavi like me.
Right.
So.
Thank Christ his name's not Willie. There was a joke there. Graham saying evening to Jose. And Jose's reciprocating. That's a good word for this time on a Sunday night. Right, and then evening for Richard. Yeah, okay. Right, let's go back to the chat then for the players. Mana Solomon, I mentioned him, Adrian, in connection with a possible make weight and in an Eberechi deal. Mana Solomon, 10 goals, 12 assists, Leeds, Everton, now Crystal Palace interest. Is he someone we should be looking at? Or
he kept Mudryk out the Shakhtar Donetsk side when I was there. That might have been through injury or something before he was sold to Chelsea for like 80 or 100 million or whatever it was. We only ever see him. He had 2 cameo roles on the right for us, and his best performance was the 5-2 away win at Burnley when he gave Sonny 2 assists.
That's the one Sonny scored 3 or 4, isn't it?
Yeah, Sonny got a hat-trick in that game, and he looked good. Then he got that ACL injury, and I think us going into the season with Destiny, your doggy, not even fit, I think we just weren't prepared to wait for him to get his fitness levels. That's why I think we loaned him out. We may miss a trick with Sullivan. I think we'll sell him because we need to do business quickly. I think we will sell him to Leeds or Everton. I think he'll go to Leeds. He seems to want to go to Leeds. And if he goes for 15 or 20 or whatever the deal is, I mean, Leeds aren't going to get a player for that price for what he can do from anywhere else. I mean, it'd be a good price for them. I think he goes. Would I like to see more of him? Well, I wouldn't be averse to him taking him pre-season, and having a closer look at him. But
is there a financial thing, Adrian? Because we got him on a free from Shakhtar, that any money we make on him goes straight on our bottom line. Is there any? It's
all profit. It becomes a player sold for pure profit. It really helps the PSR.
Yeah,
profit sustainable.
Not that we've got a problem with that, but
no,
I don't know. For some reason, with someone who's you look at Mana Solomon's numbers compared to Tell, compared to Odebear, and even compared to your great boy Mikey Moore. And you say, why is Manor Solomon not getting a look at? Why is he not being brought back with a view to play it? And I can't help thinking the reasons must be financial, that they want to cash in on him.
Yeah, I agree. He reminds me like Odebert and all that. They've got a bit of the Aaron Lennon about him, you know. But
yeah, I just think Manor Solomon's well advanced of them. Tell is all potential. Odebert's look good in phases, but his numbers aren't good, and he's another one that's still very young. Anyway, sorry, back to the comments. I think Jose's Jose's obviously back on the sangria. I've warned you about that, Jose. No, I think we were talking earlier, and we think Xavi might be a good choice. Certainly, he knows how to develop young players. He was the one that gave Yamal a start at the age of 16. All right, let's just, before we finish, we've been over an hour and a half, and I think otherwise we won't have anything to talk about all summer. Couple of players. Gui today apparently said he's not interested in Tottenham. Dibbling, Tyler Dibbling, we're interested, but at 50 million, I think. I think the words to Southampton were something like "go forth and multiply." I watched Cardozo quite closely on Wednesday, and I don't know, in our Diehards WhatsApp group, Coach Dave came on and said he's one of those players that starts well, looks good, but as the game develops and gets more intense, he fades. And I thought that was a perfect description of his performance against Chelsea. That once the game got tougher and Chelsea came at him, I mean, he was just found wanting.
He played very well against Real Madrid and Barcelona before, so he's got something about him. I mean, I wanted Fratesi from Milan, but there's been no link with him, really. I mean, you could look at Edison, you could look at Douglas Luiz, you could look at João Gomez at Wolves, you could look at Paulinho at Bayern. There's plenty of defensive midfielders out there if you want to go and get one. I like him. I like Cardoso, what I've seen on the video links. I like him. Energetic, brave, gets stuck in. He can do the job. Would he improve us? Yes, he would improve us, actually. He would improve us. But I actually, and like all this talk about Atletico Madrid, they wanted a DM, they wanted Bentancur, they wanted Cardozo, they wanted Romero. Yeah, well, show us your money because you haven't got any, right? They haven't got any money. Right, so I actually think we still got a good chance of getting him. And I think we're going to get Angel Gomez. He wants to come. I think we'll get the first two, and I think we'll get Kyle Walker-Peters. Just not because he's an upgrade, just to help us get an extra foreign player in our Champions League squad. So I think we'll get those three.
And Eze or not?
And Eze. I think Eze is the sign of leaving, and everyone wants. Eze, right? And then it comes back to Walker Peters can play in both, and that gives you a bit of breathing space because he can play on both sides. He played as left full back for the young England side that won that mini World Cup, even though he's right-footed, and he can play on both sides. So he's not bad. He's not a superb upgrade. You know what I mean? He's not really an upgrade. He's 28 now, maybe, and he'd jump at the chance of coming back. So it would help. I don't think Romero's going anywhere now. I don't think he's going, and I think
he said he's going if Ange gets sacked. We'll find out about that pretty soon.
Well, he ain't going if Ange gets sacked. If he's under contract for 2 years, he's going nowhere. You know, if the club dig the heels in, you know what Levy's like. He ain't going. If Madrid cough up £70 million, he probably goes. But he's a World Cup winner, 2 Copa America winners. I mean, he's probably one of the best defenders on the planet. I know a lot of Spurs fans are split over him, but no, he's worth that amount of money. He's worth 70 mil, and that's in a deflated market, which it is in Europe.
Tom, well, that's part of the problem. Premier League clubs end up paying top dollar, then we can't sell. Tom, any thoughts before I bring you on to the other things about Johnny Cardozo?
Uh, I think he's what Johnny Cardoso is very good at is winning the ball. He's not very good at any of the other parts of what you would expect or want from a number 6, which is, you know, getting the ball moving forward or linking the play. What Johnny Cardoso, from what I've seen and the research on him, what he's very good at is winning the ball and then quickly playing a diagonal ball, big switch to a winger that's running high and wide. If he doesn't have that winger running high and wide, he then doesn't really know what to do with the ball. But however, improve our midfield on what it is now. But I'm not sure if you're going for a game-changing midfielder, he's not the one I would go for. Angel Gomez.
Tom, is it me, Adrian? And
Tom's frozen.
Tom, you're freezing a bit.
Yeah, you got to come through the ranks like Angel Gomez. You got to be decent because he's a diminutive player. He's only 5'5". I mean, our dealers were small. Mickey Jim was cool. Alan Ball was small. You know, lots of players that are small and survived in the game. But it still takes something when you're slight of frame. Go on, Tom. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry, my internet dropped out. Angel Gomez, I think is from what I've been seeing, is pretty much done. Like he's going to be signing again. He's homegrown, not club trained, but he's homegrown, and he's an improvement on Basuma in terms of offering you a bit of creativity going forward. But he's not a ball winning midfielder. He's a guy who kind of links the defense to the attack, if that makes sense. So be interesting.
A camera 10, same as.
Tom, can I bring you in on Cardoso? Because this worries me, this link. And I know this was done as part of the Lo Celso deal, who just happened to miss a cup final through injury, plus a change and all that. Is he better than Bentancur, Gray, and or Bergvall? And because I don't think he is. And hang on, let me finish the question.
Yeah.
Is he better than them to an extent when we need backup at fullback, maybe another central defender, maybe another wide player, and another centre forward, and another playmaker? Is that an area we should be prioritising? Because I don't think it is.
I think the biggest needle moving signing we could make this summer would be a proper midfielder. Like, when I say a midfielder, I mean like a Rodri-esque midfielder, a guy who can win the ball back and then get it moving in the right direction. We don't have that. Bentancur can do it, but it's not his strongest point. Archie Gray, it's yet to be known whether or not he can do that, and maybe actually Archie Gray would benefit from having someone he can learn from in that role. But I genuinely think that would be the biggest needle mover. And here's why I think it'll be the biggest needle mover for us. As soon as you've got that, your defense suddenly has its protection, which then enables your fullbacks to be able to push on a bit more. With your fullbacks being able to push on a bit more, means that you can get Porro and your Dogi in those positions where they can do damage higher up the pitch. They're a bit less worried about, you know, if they lose the ball, it's not the end of the world because they know you've got that defensive midfielder who can basically do it. Having that defensive midfielder who can start attacks but also break up the oppositions will just enable our attack to be a lot more risky in their play. Like, they don't have to be as safe. They can actually take risks knowing that they've got that defensive solidarity behind them. So I think it would be one of the biggest needle movers and probably one of the positions that we should prioritise in improving. But with that same breath, I don't think Johnny Cardoso is that man. If you wanted me to give you the name of a player who I think could be a good one, and with the Paratici coming back, I potentially could be a player that we would go for, and that is Ravella, who has played this season for Lazio, but I'm pretty sure is under contract at Juventus. He won the ball back in the Serie A more than any other player, and he also has one of the most progressive passing like statistics out of all players in the league as well. Like, and I'm not even kidding you, he is almost a spitting image of Luka Modric as well.
Okay, don't know him.
But
don't
yeah,
know
he like from looking and talking and statistics, he's the guy I'd probably go for. Failing that, the next player I'd probably go for is Paulinho from Bayern Munich, who used to play for Fulham.
Yeah. Would he
That
be available, Tom?
The ones that I'd go for.
Tom, would Paulinho be available? You've frozen on me again. Tom, you frozen.
Well,
I wait for you to come
dead.
back. Adrian, I mean,
Okay.
this is a point I've made more than once. I mean, there was an interview as well as the two ex-coaches. I saw something Manny Petit put on. Said just after we'd signed him, and I wish I'd kept it and kept a note of it. But it was something like, it's an interesting, signing. He's, he's not everybody's. I can't remember exactly what he said, but put it this way: the alarm bells were ringing with me that we'd spent £60 million on a player.
Yeah, I think we've learnt our lessons now. And to me, look, let's be fair about it. I mean, in transfer, it's not about the amount of money you spend. You're looking at the quality of the player you're bringing in. Then it doesn't matter how old they are or how much they cost. So if you get a cheaper player, you get a lot of fans, he only cost it. Play a lot for Bentancur. We didn't play a lot for Udogie. We didn't play a lot for Sarr. We didn't, there's players we've brought in. We played hardly anything for Bergvall, right?
Yeah.
So you can do good quality deals without spending absolute fortunes. I think we need to bring in 5 in this window. And the only way I see us doing that, if we're going to get a Sane and Eze in and a striker in, which might take, we're going to have to do a couple of loans as well, I think. We're going to have to do loans as well. If we want to really challenge to, do ourselves proud in the Champions League, we are going to have to get loans in, because even with the budget we've got, and I reckon we've got about 200 mil, 90 from the Champions League 8 places that you can borrow against, 40 from that's 130. Would have had something in the budget anyway, even if it was only 50 or 60. That's 180. Player sales, we could be well up to 250 or more. So we have the money to put down payments down on 5 players, and we're going to need 5. Actually, I'd say we'd need 7. Right? But I mean, if you want to cover the back as well.
Adrian, let's say we got Gomez on a free, Carl Walker-Peters on a free.
That's what you need to do. Those
David
deals.
on a free, Sane on a free, and paid 60 million for Eze. That's 60 million quid, 5 players, job done, isn't it?
Yeah, and you'd still have money to you'd still have enough money to go and get Tell if you wanted him. You could do that. I mean, Levy hinted at being like cutting your cloth to suit you, what you got in the bank, but that was before we won the Europa League, and now we know all this money will come in this season. So now we've got a chance. We say it every season, don't we? This transfer window's got the most important in our history, or whatever. We do it every season, but because we're in the Champions League, it is. We've got to spend what we look. My argument has always been with Spurs is like, I want us to be able to maximise our spending under the rules, right? Each season. But before there was no PSR, there was no financial fair play, but now there is. And in Europe, it's 70%. And what's interesting about it is the likes of Villa and that are going to have to sell, because they were 96% on their PSR or something. So they're going to have to sell players to reduce it. Anyway, what's your take on how many do you think we're getting, Tom?
Again, 5 to 7 is probably needed. The biggest problem is that we are literally, because of the Champions League rules, unless we're happy to leave players out of the Champions League squad, we are kind of working on a 1 in, 1 out ratio.
Yeah,
and I think that's going to be the biggest problem. So a lot's going to depend on who are the players going out as to who are the players that then come in. I mean, the names you sort of mentioned then, Ian, with Jonathan David, Angel Gomez, Carl Walker-Peters, and Eze, and I can't remember who the other one was.
Sane.
Like, I don't think that is job done. But what that does, if you were to get those players in, it does improve our squad. 100% it improves our squad. But what it does do is it then leaves you with like 100-odd million that you can dump on a world-class player in a position that you desperately need it, whatever position you deem that to be that winger, be that midfielder. But again, I think like a defensive midfielder is one that we need to look at spending a large sum of money on. Who that player is, I don't know. Like spending a large sum of money on any random player obviously is not going to make you a better. Spending a large sum of money on the right player, a player that you know is 100% going to improve you. But the thing is, it's also like who are the players going out? Like I genuinely think that this might be the summer that you say goodbye to Heung-min Son. Because he's taken up one of those non-club trained positions. You're not going to get any money for him next year because he can leave on a free. So actually, it makes more sense to move him on now, and then you can reinvest that money into whoever is the next Heung-min Son for our squad or everything like that.
And Richie and Basuma have to go. If you're going to bring in a foreign player, and we've only got last season we had 23 in that Europa Cup squad, so penalised. That means we had 15 foreign players. We've already got that. I if you bring in one in, you've got Richarlison and Basuma have to go. Unless Richarlison digs his heels in, says he wants to stay that year for the Brazil World Cup, and we can't sell him because he doesn't want to go, then we ain't getting that striker in. We can still get Eze Sani. We can still get Eze.
Adrian, with Richarlison, if he wants to get in that Brazil squad, then he's got to be playing football. If you say to him, I'm really sorry, you're not going to be playing for this Spurs team, so you need to go and find football elsewhere.
But if he dug his heels in, he would play because of the amount of games we've got. We would have to play.
Not if he's not registered for the Champions League team.
No, not if he's not registered.
That would be as simple as it is.
This is the issue we've got. We don't know what the shape of the squad's going to be going into the new season yet because we've got to get through this window. So then we'll debate it all. Yeah,
we won't know that until the 1st of September when the transfer window shuts.
It's 86 days. 86 days to go.
we do need to start thinking about what we're doing soon. Mostly because on the 13th of August we've got a major trophy that we're competing for in the European Super Cup, and there's no way you want to be going into that with not already having basically your team for the season.
A few words of reassurance on this, even though PSG spanked into Milan, right? PSG are in the World Club Championships. Their players are not getting a rest. Plus, their players are on World Cup international duty for qualifiers as well. And that game on Wednesday, the 13th of August, is 3 days before the Premier League starts on a Saturday. It's on a Wednesday. So I'm not expecting that. I'm hoping that PSG side that turned up and slammed into Milan won't be on top form when it comes. I think their players will be tired, but they have got a big squad anyway. But that's my hope anyway. That gives us hope. Otherwise, we're going to get hammered.
You never know. Like there's a long time between now and then, and lots that happen. But we need to start making some moves now for the players we want. And my priority would be a defensive midfielder. Definitely think we need a winger, a one-on-one specialist winger who can take players on.
Manor Solomon.
He's not though, Ian. Like he's just not. Like don't get me wrong. 12 goals, 10 assists in the Championship, playing for the best team by a million miles. Like, okay, he done well, but so did Dan James. Like you wouldn't have Dan James in your team, would you?
So did Somerville, the winger they sold to West Ham, who's done nothing.
I was going to say, I'm not sure who would fit that bill that would come to Tottenham that a club would let go. I mean, who you got in mind?
Well, I mean, to be honest, there's a variety and a variety of players you could get for that. But people look at Mbeumo from Brentford and just say, oh, he scored 20 goals, but he also created shit tons of
Yeah.
chances and stuff as well.
Yeah.
He's a creative take-on player who can score and finish, and he can play across that front line. Like so, he is a player that I would look at for that position. Although it looks like he might be United bound as well.
Or Newcastle.
Eze is a bit of a take-on specialist as well, but again, I wouldn't say he's an out-and-out winger. Sané is also a take-on specialist, and he's good with the ball at his feet.
If we didn't get
there is
Sané,
players out there, but
Yeah.
I mean, look at the team that just won the Champions League, PSG. All three of their front man are players that are happy to run at the defence, create havoc, try and take men on, but they also work their absolute arses off as well defensively. And they're the sort of players that you need to be looking at. Like actually, the way that PSG played, and I'm not comparing Enrique to Ange in any way, shape, or form, but the way that PSG played is what you can envisage is what Ange sees as perfect football. That's what you would want. You need the players to be able to do that. I do think Enrique has a bit more maybe defensive nous about him as well, and he's been doing it. You guys,
if we can't get Sané, or I'd like to get in for the experience. Would you take Tyler Diblin?
Tyler Diblin isn't a here now player. I would take him, but I'd take him for 20 million. And as a player who's going to be one to build up for the future and things like that. But he's not a player that you bring in to improve your squad now.
He's not what we need, Adrian, and not with the kind of money that's being talked about.
No, it's rubbish.
He's another one that you'd actually think for his best development, actually you'd sign him and maybe leave him at Southampton for another year in the Championship on loan to actually develop in a league where his team has actually got the ball and attacking rather than constantly defending and conceding goals. But anyway, Adrian, I think we're done here.
No, okay.
You've got a show coming up on Tuesday, which may grow arms and legs very quickly.
Well, I'm not doing a show Tuesday at present unless we've got something to talk about. The banners I've saved here, I would say for Friday with Drew Zilla. Give him a chance. I haven't spoken to Drew yet. So, but if we get breaking news, obviously we could come on at short notice. Me and you could ring each other or whatever. But otherwise, we're gonna. All right, we might have a different audience, but we were talking the same stuff basically. We've got all the European banners up for the pots and all that to talk about Friday anyway.
There's lots. There's lots. And I think that's right. Yeah. Please, if you've been listening, do like and subscribe to the channel.
That little
enormously.
Subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner, that red YouTube subscribe button will take you straight to our site. And
you can take a membership as well if you like our content.
Yeah, if you like our content, memberships are open.
We'll no doubt do some members-only shows next year, but I got a funny feeling we will be back before Friday. If we're not back before Friday, I think that means that Ange is here. I think if Ange is going, it's going to be in the next 72, well, maybe even 48 hours. David Clark, I'm not going to keep going, but it's widely known Paratici doesn't want Ange. There's certainly been rumours. I'm not going to say why.
He's not alone, is he?
I've certainly read that.
The fan base don't want him either.
But
we'll see.
Tom, thank you again.
Pleasure.
Lots of interesting chat tonight. It's almost a pity none of us are big Ange outers. We could have had a good chat about that, but we always pride ourselves on the maturity of our content, and there are plenty of
practical. We're practical as well. Let's be fair. I mean, I'm
plenty of shows you can go.
I take the balanced view on all things in life. That's the way I come across. And then when I've got to make a decision, I'll make one. Right, but practical. I think Ange should stay because if you get the manager wrong, that's even worse. I just think it's the easiest decision for Levy. The easier of the hard decision to make for Levy is to keep him. But
I just looked at.
It's not down to us. We just voice an opinion, So
thanks, Chris. Thanks for that. We always try and be a good watch. We try and be interesting and relevant. I've actually just looked before at the BBC gossip to see if there was anything on Ange. There's actually nothing about Spurs at all.
I'll check
Barcelona talking to Thomas Partey about going there. So No, never mind. Won't give the defamation lawyers an angle on that. But thank you as ever to, as I say, to Adrian and Tom. Thank you to all of you that have been on the chat. Thank you for thanks again. It's great that people enjoy it. We'll keep doing it as long as people enjoy it. We will keep doing it. I'm going to play out tonight with my very own composition, a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So thanks, everybody. We will see you next Sunday, but I got a feeling that we'll see you before Friday when the next show is scheduled. I've got a feeling we'll be seeing you before then. Take care, everybody, and thank you again.
We are Tottenham diehards. Something I can't explain. We follow through sun and rain. When we lose, we don't complain. Yes we do, oh we do. But Tottenham Hotspur, I will love you till I die. I will love you, I die. I will love you till I die, till I die, till I die.